Eons ago, humanity's ambition had burned bright enough to reach the farthest fringes of known space, yet time and alternating cycles of peace and desolation left many of Earth's warships mothballed in dusty orbital docks, their gleaming hulls dulled by neglect. Terra's Pride was one such relic, once the flagship of the United Earth Fleet, now a rust-spotted anachronism plodding through the black on a shuddering, antiquated drive. On the command bridge of the Coalition's dreadnought Valkyrian, Admiral Thakera leaned back in her crystalline throne, amused. Around her, luminous holoscreens danced with data. The sluggish blip marked Terra's Pride, drifting at 0.1 C, engines thrumming like a dying heartbeat. Behind her, her captains chuckled. "Is that a human hulk?" "I thought they went extinct," scoffed Captain Round of the Venth Arm. "Probably decommissioned centuries ago. Shall we vaporize it for target practice?" quipped Commander Irel of the Sasari fleet, tail fins flexing in delight. Thakera's cool smile gleamed. "No need to dirty our weapons. Let them crawl closer, if they even make it here. Light years away, within Terra's Pride's corroded passageways, Captain Marisol Vega stood before the ancient viewport, tracing constellations long renamed by the Coalition's conquerors. The hull shuddered under sublight acceleration, sending rivulets of micro-fracture dust tumbling along the bulkheads. Behind her, the bridge crew, 50 engineers and soldiers, survivors of Earth's last great wars, moved with quiet urgency. First Officer Jian Song tapped data on a cracked console. "Captain, we're entering Coalition space. Their scanners haven't taken a second look since launch." Marisol's jaw set. "Good. Let them think us harmless. Phase 1 still needs final checks." She swept her gaze across the bridge, faces smudged with grease and hope, eyes bright with a secret they dared not share. Down in engineering, Dr. Elias Rourke hovered over an array of humming graviton modulators. The ancient reactor core, a fusion of human hindsight and scavenged alien components, glowed with an otherworldly violet corona. Stray electrons danced along the containment field as Rourke adjusted the quantum lock parameters. "Field stability at 97%, he murmured into his wrist comm. "Containment seals holding at 19 Earth atmospheres. We're ready for spin-up." Across the compartment, Chief Engineer Anika Dreyer wiped sweat from her brow. "Remember what's at stake. If the drive fails, we're sitting ducks in Coalition territory." Rourke offered a tight smile. "It won't fail, not after all the nights we spent retrofitting this hunk of salvaged steel." Back on the Valkyrian, Thakera watched the human ships approach on her holomap. The blip inched forward, so slow it could be outrun by a comet. She raised a slender claw and addressed her council. "My fleet will shadow them. We intercept at Sector 47 Delta. Bring them in for inspection alive. We have orders to capture any surviving human technology." Below them, the Coalition squadrons realigned. Stealth cruisers, shock fighters, corvette packs, each vessel built for speed and precision. They fanned out like predatory birds closing in on an elderly tortoise. On Terra's Pride, Vega gathered her officers in the strategy bay. Light from the holographic star chart painted ghostly patterns across their uniforms. "Soon we'll be in range," she said. "Coalition forces believe our drive is obsolete, an idle relic. They don't know we've re-engineered our core for quantum null travel. Their ships will see us coming one way and not another." Song frowned. "But will Phase 1 really fry their sensors? Disable their shields long enough for Phase 2? Vega's eyes flared with fierce conviction. "If it works, we'll waltz through their lines unseen, strike their command ships, and remind them why humanity never bows to laughter." A charged silence settled. Every soul aboard felt the weight of that promise. That night, Terra's Pride descended into the dark. Its battered hull, pockmarked by micrometeor impacts and laser scorch, hid a secret more devastating than any sleek cutter-class assault frigate. All around, the coalition fleets prepared to pounce on what they thought was a dying ship. They laughed and boasted into their comm channels, confident of an easy prize. But laughter, like any weapon, can be turned against its wielder. As Terra's pride crept nearer, its ancient silver hull glinting against distant nebulae, the galaxy's most formidable armada readied itself, unaware that the slowest ship in history carried the deadliest ghost of war humanity had ever unleashed. The corridors of Terra's pride thrummed with nervous energy as coalition drones swept past external hull cameras, scanning for life signs. Inside, the warship's battered bulkheads concealed the crown jewel of humanity's ingenuity, the quantum null. Drive! Dr. Elias Rourke stood at its core, fingers flying over a hollow keyboard projected above the fusion reactor's containment chamber. The iridescent violet glow of graviton coils pulsed in time with his heartbeat. Field stability at 99.8% and rising, Rourke announced into his comlink. His voice trembled with restrained excitement. Around him, engineers in stained overalls hovered over ancient maintenance panels, retrofitted with new human circuitry. They monitored temperature gauges and stress readouts, sweat beading on brows under the reactor's soft hum. In the adjacent gravimetric torpedo bay, Chief Engineer Annika Dreyer oversaw the final loading of prototype munitions. Unlike conventional shells, these warheads were hollow-charged with phased plasma, designed to tear through any shield by warping its energy matrix. She sealed the last torpedo into its launch tube and whispered a silent prayer to the ghosts of Earth's lost fleets. Across the ship, in the dim glow of the communications room, First Officer Jian Song listened to scratchy coalition chatter. "Admiral Thakira's fleet will be in weapons range in 5 minutes," he reported. "They still haven't realized we're packing more than this hull suggests." He allowed himself a wry smile. Every mocking transmission they'd intercepted had only steeled their resolve. Captain Marisol Vega strode onto the bridge, her eyes alight beneath the glare of tactical displays. "Phase 1 in 10 seconds, she declared. "Prepare for sensor blackout." Her officers snapped to attention. On the main viewer, the coalition armada glinted like a swarm of hornets, sleek cruisers, stingy destroyers, and the colossal flagship Valkyrian at its center. "Engage quantum null drive," Vega ordered. In a chamber deep within the bowels of the ship, the quantum null generator roared to life. The lights dimmed as the hull vibrated with subatomic resonance. Outside, coalition sensors registered a sudden wave of interference, shield harmonics spiking, targeting arrays scrambling, communication relays cracking with white noise. For a heartbeat, the entire armada floated blind. "Sensors down!" cried Lieutenant Koru in engineering. "Shields at 60% integrity across the board." "Excellent," Vega replied coldly. "Phase 2. Feed the gravimetric torpedoes to the main launch rails. Lock onto the Valkyrian's command tower." Across the void, streaks of blue-green plasma tore through the darkness, arcing toward the unsuspecting flagship. Within seconds, the Valkyrian's crystalline foredeck fractured under the impact, sending cascading shards of super-dense lattice glass exploding into space. The flagship shuddered violently, its suppressor fields faltering. As alarms screamed, "Direct hit! Their shields are collapsing!" One of Vega's gunners shouted, voice trembling with exhilaration. As the shattered remnants of the Valkyrian drifted away, Vega turned her bridge's hollow display toward the remaining vessels. "Now they see us," she mused, voice low, "and now they'll learn why they should never underestimate the slowest ship in history." Behind her, the battered hull of Terra's pride still groaned with the power of its hidden engine, proof that in war, ingenuity could triumph over sheer speed, and that the quietest spark could ignite the fiercest blaze. The void shook as the crippled Valkyrian's shattered hulk tumbled away, trailing tendrils of ionized debris. Across coalition space, The remaining cruisers scrambled to regain sensor links, but it was too late. Terra's pride, its ancient hull, now humming with barely contained power, slipped through their faltering defensive lines like a phantom, quantum shroud still flickering at its flanks. On the bridge, Captain Marisol Vega watched the real-time damage grid. Red zones bloomed across the coalition fleet's formation. Flagship bridges venting atmosphere, railgun emplacements torn open, fighter squadrons lost in the sensor blackout. She keyed her comm, voice steady. All batteries, concentrate on the Vanthar-class destroyers, compromise their engine arrays and starboard turrets. Mass effect cannons thundered from hidden emplacements, their warped projectiles ignoring shield geometry and carving gashes through enemy armor. Gravimetric torpedoes followed in swift pursuit, collapsing sections of hull into miniature singularities. Before the destroyers could muster counterfire, even the vaunted Cesari plasma wings, renowned for their flickering elegance, found themselves eclipsed by the raw, relentless assault. Below decks, the engineers felt every reverberation of the bombardment. Dr. Rourke monitored reactor readouts, brows slick with sweat yet alight with triumph. Core containment at optimal levels, he reported. We could sustain another cycle. Chief Engineer Dreyer allowed herself a grin. Then let's give them one more surprise. Raising her voice, Vega issued the final order. Initiate the gravimetric pulse cascade. At her command, hidden pulse generators along the Pride's hull synchronized into a planet-shaking sequence. The generators emitted overlapping graviton fields that rippled outward, each wave warping the very fabric of space around enemy vessels. Shields flickered, then shattered. Engines buckled under the strain. Hulls imploded inward in silent, crushing compression. Moments later, the void around Sector 47 Delta lay eerily quiet. Only drifting wreckage and the silent corpses of once proud warships remained. On Terra's Pride's bridge, Vega allowed herself a breath. Report status. Lieutenant Koru's voice came back calm, almost reverent. All enemy forces neutralized. Casualties minimal on our side. Hull integrity at 87%. Systems nominal. Marisol turned from the viewport, where the debris field glittered like a macabre constellation. Set course for Earth, she ordered, and send a message to every coalition beacon in the rim. Humanity is back. As Terra's Pride limped away from the smoking battlefield, its battered hull bore the scars of millennia-old neglect. Yet, none could deny the ferocity that pulsed within. The slowest warship in history had become the ultimate reckoning, a testament to human tenacity, a warning that even the humblest of vessels could become the deadliest of nightmares.